None of the new atheists grapple with a very mature understanding of God. It's a kind of childish God, miracle-working God in the sky, which I reject as a former seminarian. It's a kind of caricature of God. These people attack the Christian right, fundamentalists, so-called literalists, although that's a really misnomer because they're selective literalists. They pick what they want out of the Bible and ignore other things to essentially buttress their own ideology. And I think the failing on the part of figures like Dawkins is that they can't engage in a dialogue outside of that caricature. Now, although I'm a believer, I understand there's no historical evidence that Jesus existed. I covered the war in Sarajevo. I certainly understand that the universe is morally neutral. 2,000 children were killed in Sarajevo while I was there. And then just look at the recent attacks that Israel has carried out on Gaza, where probably a majority of the 80% are civilians, but probably half of the residents in Gaza are under the age of 14. A large number were children. So, and I don't believe that somehow God spared me in Bosnia because I was part of a divine plan. So I don't believe in angels or miracles or any of that. Nor do I believe that we're progressing towards the kingdom of God. That somehow time is linear. There's nothing in human history to prove that. And yet I'm not antagonistic to religious belief the way they are. And I think having debated Christopher Hitchens at Berkeley and having debated Sam Harris at UCLA, they cannot argue on that level. They can argue against that caricature, which is a misuse of religion that I also have been stridently vocal about and antagonistic towards. I wrote a book called American Fascists, the Christian Right and the War on America, so I can hardly be accused of coddling the religious right. In fact, I see them as Christian heretics. These people are not Dawkins, Harris. They're not literate in theology. They haven't read theology, nor do they believe that they need to. And that's a kind of frightening or willful ignorance on their part. It's as if I was going to debate Dawkins on biology, but believe that I really didn't have to read anything except, Peterson's Field Guide to Birds or something. The other thing about Dawkins to remember, which they all do, is that they use scientific language, or they make a leap to use scientific language to talk about things that don't exist. For instance, Dawkins talks about memes, which are kind of ideas that he says are transplanted from one generation to the next, and he likens memes to DNA. Well, memes are a theory. Memes don't exist, and we can't use the rules of science, the rules of genetics to somehow talk about ideas. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. And so what they're often doing is speaking in the language of scientific rationalism, but attempting to use that language to describe a phenomena that is not rational. Even Freud said, he said, I can write about sex, I can't write about love. And so as soon as they cross over and attempt to talk about these powerful forces that make a complete human being, the Buddhists say that you can memorize as many sutras as you want, as many laws as you want. It will never make you wise. Wisdom comes with that understanding of these elements that make up a complete life: grief, love, mortality, the search for meaning, etc. And that is beyond the capability of scientific rationalism to deal with. And that is dealt with by artists and by religious thinkers and philosophers. That is their domain.